Good evening all, wild weather here for liveweatherblogs.com. Another night, and it's not really all that cold. 46 now in the Baltimore, Washington area, 43 up here in New York City. These would be your normal high temperatures for the day on February the 15th, maybe slightly warmer here, but it's 10:30 at night. 36 degrees right now up here in Green Bay. It's pretty mild, folks. Warm surging coming up this way. Be some rain showers moving in for today, tomorrow. Not a lot, but some. A little chillier back here, but again, it's really not. I mean, it's not really all that cold, and we'll get to that in a moment. Let's look up north here. There's Alaska, quite warm in Alaska on the southern shore here, and even all the way up here to Fairbanks, 27 degrees. It's pretty warm even up here for this time of the year. In Canada, as it has been for much of the winter, kind of warm out here in the southwestern part of Canada, and the cold in the east really is pretty relaxed as well. Some cold air building up here. We had thoughts and speculations that maybe some of this would get entrained to a storm that would develop on the east coast, but we shall see about that. I'm still not buying it. I'm still not buying the winter storm here coming up Saturday night, Sunday, or in that time period. Um, I don't know. Well, let's take a look at the players in the field right now. We'll go to the satellite, the 24-hour loop. Here comes a southern piece of energy. This is the energy right here that may spawn a winter storm or winter type storm along the east coast. Should get a better handle on the data coming in here as it's heading toward Rob Garino country here. Maybe you can throw a balloon up there, Rob. Find out what's going to happen with the storm coming up. You can see a ridge trying to build over top of it as the storm gets handed off to the southern branch, and here comes the southern branch moisture. Ample moisture coming up here. I think it's pretty much a given with all this ample moisture coming up here. If you're in this area here, look out for some severe weather coming up. That seems to be up first, and that seems to be, at this point, the only thing we know for sure is the severe weather will pop up here as the storm gets out of the way. Now, the next question is how quickly does this storm leave the Yuma, Arizona area coming up over the next 24 to 36 hours? And also, what is the timing of the northern branch of the jet stream, which is still sitting up pretty far north here? This storm would have to get handed off at the perfect time here along the east coast to the northern branch in order for the cold air to be sucked into the storm. And you see a large storm, as you're seeing on the GFS, is 982, 84 millibars, which is pretty strong, much stronger than any other model had shown. Euro, if you remembered, a couple nights ago was showing a 990 millibar low here off of the Ocean City, Maryland area, and I'll show you the Euro in a moment, but has since then backed off of that and has a storm further south in the Gulf of Mexico moving out to sea and developing. As it's too far offshore, it gets knocked off the coast by the more progressive northern branch. It's all in the timing. Again, let's put this into motion. Sorry, I have a cold tonight. Sorry for the sniffling. Again, we're coming down into the Rob Garino country here in Phoenix and Yuma, Arizona. We'll see what happens. This is your storm for upcoming on the weekend. Does the storm continue to move, or does it? How far south does it get? Will ultimately determine exactly what the outcome is, basically from this whole area right in here coming up. At this point, I'm going to have to go against the storm in terms of snowfall, especially for the 5-county Philadelphia region. There's just way too many things that can go wrong right now at this point to say that for sure a snowstorm is coming, but yet it just leaves the door open for speculation that there could be something coming, but it's just too early to tell. Until this storm, we know it's made a definite move. How far south it's gotten, how far east, or maybe it wobbles further north and west, will determine exactly its interaction with the northern jet. And quite honestly, the cold air that's up here for this time of the year really doesn't impress me all that much. So with that said, here's just real quick before we look at the models, a synopsis of what I think is going to be happening here. We have, before the storm, days where highs are getting near 50 degrees, barely to freezing most times, not even below freezing at night. The storm comes along. Temperatures only go to normal, which would be for this time of the year between 40 and 45, depending on which part of the area you're in. And that, quite frankly, is just not at the surface going to be good enough to create snow. And then the storm leaves, and behind it comes all the Pacific air because it is a southern jet storm after all. While there may be a lot of moisture with it, how far north does it get? It will be a key thing. Or does the northern branches kick it out to sea? It'll be interesting to see how this all plays out. But the pattern this year has been to be too progressive with the northern stream and the southern branch of the storms to either get kicked too far east or to, quite frankly, bring too much warm air. So at this point, if one problem doesn't get you, the other will, kind of. And in order for this storm to be an all-out snowstorm for the five-county Philadelphia area, things have to just come together just perfectly at this point in terms of timing and the amount of cold air that this storm can produce. Now remember, a stronger storm can manufacture its own cold air, but with a lack of true cold air really being in place before a storm comes, you lose that idea of overrunning precipitation. It would be a quick snow to rain and then back to snow again as the storm intensified. So these are the things we'll be looking at coming up. Probably have a better handle on this probably tomorrow night. Maybe the models will start hinting at later on tonight as the GFS is about to come in about 20 minutes here, and maybe throughout the day tomorrow. Again, you really do want a strong storm to be off the coast, not on the coast, and we'll see that in a moment. We want a stronger storm at this time of the year to produce and manufacture its own cold air, especially when the cold air source is not around. But if one problem, the timing doesn't get you, where the storms just don't phase, the storm just continues to lollygag out to sea and get crushed by the progressive flow of the northern jet, or does the storm come up and then there just is a lack of cold air? Maybe it snows in the very beginning of the storm, and then the cold air in all levels is just eroded away, changes to rain, while it continues to snow much further inland, and this is a rainstorm for the Philadelphia five-county area. These are the things we're looking at tonight, and we'll see what happens. Real quick, this is the Euro model. This really is, I think, has a better handle on what things are going to happen. But again, even the Euro model has a problem with, as all the models do, with taking the southwest energy and how quickly it ejects out. Euro model showing a storm much further south. I'm not exactly sure it's quite this far south, but maybe a little bit further north, and then it just kind of comes up here, and it gets knocked off the coast, and then finally, as it gets in this area here, it develops, and what you get is a glancing blow of rain and maybe some mixed rain and snow south, not much north. The storm leaves, it gets windy, and temperatures go to 38 to 40 degrees in the Philadelphia region with maybe a couple snow flurries for a day or two, and then the cold air lifts out and the warm air comes back. So again, not much of a change. What am I thinking? Even though the GFS was showing some what people would think is a major snowstorm, it just isn't quite to be, because if you look here, here's the 18Z GFS at 984 millibar low, which goes from just on shore of Delmarva to this location just east of Atlantic City. This would most likely be rain to snow, and then it'd be snowing in the higher elevations. It'd be an elevation event, and the temperatures at the surface would be too warm. So one of those things, you're darned if you do and darned if you don't. You have to play the timing perfectly, and if you want the storm to come, let's take it back. Look, there it is, the weekend. It's right there. You want the storm to come down in this fashion here and come up to a location, say right off of Virginia Beach here, and for it to get wrapped up. 982, 84 wouldn't be bad, but how deep is the cold air that comes in after the Thursday storm into the weekend here? I'm just fearful that it's not going to be deep enough, the cold air, and I'm not sure yet about how this southern stream energy that's going to phase with the southern stream down here and phases with the northern stream, and where that occurs. So that's all I have for tonight, folks. Watch the models. Be cautious. It's kind of been if you could, a dreary winter for snow lovers. But we'll see what happens. We'll see if the presidents can throw us a bone this weekend. That's all I have for tonight is wild weather for liveweatherblogs.com.